Now, it's quite an accolade for you as a writer that every one of your novels has been a New York Times bestseller, including, of course, The Lucky One. I just wondered what it was that sparked your imagination to write this ultimately quite hopeful story.
Yeah, it is. It's really sparked by the fact that I live in eastern North Carolina, which is a very active military region of the United States. We're literally surrounded by bases. Marine, Army, Air Force, Navy. And so the active military is part and parcel with life in the community there. And so if you're going to write a story about people in their 20s, well, this is an option, for instance. And I had that, then you get in this idea in your head of this Marine finding a photograph, and the story spins out from there.
And how affected have you been by sort of recent conflicts that US and UK troops have been involved with overseas? I guess that was part of your inspiration.
Yeah, there's no question. To me, these are just young men. I mean, I used to coach athletics at my local high school, and 5 of my former athletes are now serving in the military, and they go off and then they come back. And so I've seen them since they were 14. Now they're 21 with 2 tours under their belt. And, you see the changes. And I really wanted to write about the changes in a way that felt very real to me. And what Logan is going through feels very real to me.
And your debut novel, The Notebook, was published when you were in your late 20s, and you've given us pretty much a novel a year since then.
Yeah.
I wondered if you could just talk us through briefly your writing process. Are you always in the same seat? Do you work at the same hours? And how long did did The Lucky One take?
Sure. Most novels will start with this, take about 5 months to write, maybe another 6 weeks after that to edit. And that was The Notebook, but that was also The Lucky One. It's a good pace. Usually I write between the hours of about 10 and 3:30, 4 o'clock, because I like to work while the kids are in school. With that said, I can write anywhere, planes, hotels. Like I'll be writing some of my next novel here in between all the media, right? And so when I sit down to write, it's 2,000 words a day.
So you're quite disciplined.
Yes.
Yeah. So many of your novels have been adapted into for the screen now. How much say do you have as an author when it comes to casting, and do you actually have some actors in mind as you write?
I have a lot of say in casting, and yet with that said, I'm a producer, or I'm a screenwriter, or I'm the novelist. It doesn't matter. I have a good association with all the studios. There are smart people, and you work with them, and so it's kind of a team decision. If you're dead set against someone, they won't put them in. If you're totally for someone, they still may not put them in. They may be too expensive. They might not be available. There's all these factors. So I work with everyone very closely.
And what do you admire particularly about Zac Efron as a performer? And did he bring any qualities to the character of Logan that you hadn't necessarily seen when you were writing the book?
Really what I wanted was someone who looked the part, and in the U.S. military Marines, they tend to be 18 to 25 years old. I think 70% of the Marine Corps is under 25, so Zac was perfect there. I wanted a great performer, but most importantly, I wanted someone who was a genuinely nice guy, like deep down at his core, because we're going to saddle him with all this other stuff, but sometimes it's this who you are that kind of radiates on screen. And Zac's a genuinely nice guy. He literally doesn't have a mean bone in his body. So that was great to see.
And that's why the performance works so well, because he's kind of having to cover some of that sort of natural charm that he has.
Right, he's got to cover that with all the stuff, and with all of the issues that he's dealing with, the PTSS or PTSD, whichever you prefer to call it. And because it is profoundly affecting to be deployed, see these terrible, terrible things, and then to come back and you're like in this life that, wow, yeah, it doesn't make as much sense as it did before.
And how about Taylor Schilling as Beth Green?
I love Taylor. She is just a terrific actress. I think she's going to be a big movie star. She lights up on screen. She's just such a good actress. She's got a lot of emotional depth as an actress, and she's going places. I mean, I was exciting. And most importantly, between the two of them, though, what you're looking for is chemistry. And that is the big, that's the big thing you look for.
Yeah, and they have that in spades, don't they?
They had that in spades.
Definitely. And Ellie is a wonderful character. She plays Beth. She is Beth's Nana in the film. I think we could all do with one of her in our lives. What did you make of Blythe Danner's performance?
Blythe is a legend, right? And she brought so much great lightness and humor to the role, and kind of a salty salty way of speaking. I mean, it was exciting to see her come to life the way she should be, because she was a very important character. She kind of served as Beth's conscience at times, you know, that inner voice we hear but sometimes ignore, and she's there telling you, reminding you, hey, maybe you should listen to that voice inside your head.
And I always enjoy Scott Hicks' movies, from Shine and more recently The Boys Are Back. Why was he the ideal choice as the director of The Lucky One? What did he bring to the table?
There was a few things, you know, he brought. Number one, he is he's really good at bringing out. He's a character director. Different directors are good at different things, and that doesn't mean necessarily that one's better than others. But he's a really good character actor, and we needed someone who's going to bring these characters to life with a deft hand, because you have a lot of issues you're dealing with, and you don't want to go overboard, right? You don't want to be cliched or melodramatic. You want it to be just right. So Scott was great at that. Then, of course, he shoots a beautiful film.
Those contained emotions are often actually more moving, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely, to me. And it takes a deft hand to do something like that.
And having read the novel, the film's very faithful to the characters and the feel. But there are some changes in incidents and
Sure.
you know, the way things are moved around. I just wondered how you felt about such changes being made for a screen adaptation.
For the most part, I probably have less trouble with it than other people, you know, who've read the novel and seen the film. For me, in the end, what I'm looking for once it becomes a film is capture the big things about the stories and the characters, but make the best film that you possibly can. I don't get too caught up in the details, because the mediums are so different. Some things work great on film, like car chases and explosions or real intense emotions, you know, and they start kissing passionately, you know, for the first time. Works great on film. Doesn't matter what you do in a book, you'll never capture that. But other things work in books, like introspection. You just can't film someone thinking.
And both in the novel and the film adaptation, there are some laughs as well, although it's a romantic drama. How important is it to have some levity in there?
Without it, the film won't work. You have to see the characters go through all of the emotions of life, whether it's confusion or loss or laughter or love. You've got to go through it all, because this is the reason the characters begin to feel real to you, and it's why you begin to root for them. It's why you cheer when they fall in love, and you feel sad when they suffer a loss.
And Beth asked Logan at one point, do you think that life has a plan for you? And of course the title makes us kind of question that as well, fate.
Right.
I just wondered what your own take on kind of destiny is.
Yeah, I believe in fate and destiny, but only in retrospect, because I do believe that most of our own fates and destinies are driven by the conscious and unconscious decisions that we make, right? You meet someone that you care for, and it might, looking back 20 years later, feel like it was fate. But you still had to do a lot of things to make it work along the way, right? And I think that's how fate really works in real life, and it certainly does in this story too. He finds his photograph, but had he not gone in search of her, the story would have ended there.
And of course, in the book and the film, it is the photograph. Do you have a lucky charm yourself that you'd like to have around you?
Oh, just my wife, right? That's about it. She makes me feel lucky.
You can't really beat that, can you? No.
Yeah.
And Rowdy has a great screen presence as the German Shepherd, Zeus, in the film. I think worthy of a Golden Collar nomination this year. Why did you decide to give Logan that canine companion, and are you an animal lover yourself?
Of course. I've got 5 dogs. I know this is probably crazy here, but I have a lot of land and stuff. And actually, I have 2 real dogs and 3 little fake dogs that the kids like. The dog Zeus, that was really modeled after my German Shepherd Rex, very much the same. And Rex laid at my feet while I wrote the book. And so I said, okay, we're putting you in here. So there you go.
And just finally, what do you think cinema audiences will enjoy when they go and see The Lucky One?
You know what? They're going to enjoy a good story. That is it. It's a story that you say, you know, I enjoyed the time I spent watching it. I'm glad I went. I'm going to tell someone about it. And to me, that's what good films are all about. And it doesn't matter that it's this kind of film or Jurassic Park or whatever. As long as it's good and it works, you're happy you went. And The Lucky One succeeds brilliantly in this regard.
Nicholas Sparks, thanks very much.
Thank you.